Today I'm making baked beans. Not long ago, I found a 100-year-old plus recipe in my late mother-in-law's recipe box. It was for baked beans and it involved soaking the beans overnight, using salt, pork, and simmering and cooking the beans all day long. It was great. Well, I'm not cooking that way for you today. I found a better way, and actually a little more flavorful and tastier than the original old-fashioned way of making baked beans. I took about 6 slices of bacon. Actually, in this case, I used 3 slices of bacon and a little bit of ham. And because you can use bacon, ham, or bacon and ham as I'm doing here today. I cooked the bacon, and after that I let this pan cool for a minute. Removed with paper towels about half that bacon fat. It's just too much. I put a little olive oil in here, and now I'm going to move on with the recipe. Doesn't need to be quite that hot. And first thing that goes in there is an onion, 1 large onion chopped. I'll get the onion sautéing. This needs to be done just until it starts to turn translucent. It takes a few minutes, and I'm going to wait with the garlic. Let this go for just a minute before we add the garlic in and get the onions ready to go. It's going to be the onions, then a little bit of garlic. Then I will add the canned pinto beans. This is 30 ounces, a 30-ounce can. You can use 2 14, 15-ounce cans with the juices. That's important, with the juices. So those are the first 3 things that will go into this fat. Now they're going. It doesn't take long, 2 or 3 minutes. I think this preliminary step, maximum of about 5 minutes. Put the garlic in. 1 clove of garlic. There wasn't any garlic in the original old-fashioned recipe. And there wasn't any brown sugar, which I'll put in a minute too. That's something I took from my own mother. She always puts brown sugar in her baked beans. Okay, now the onions are there. I will add the canned pinto beans with their juices. This starting to mix. This is going to be so good. Next comes either a 1/4 or a 1/3. This happens to be a 1/3 cup of ketchup. That just depends on your taste. It doesn't make much difference either way. And 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. That also was not in the original recipe. It's something I always like to put in my beans. This, a 1/4 cup of molasses, was in the original recipe, and I think it's essential. Simmering just a little bit more and mixed a little bit. brown sugar, as I mentioned. And here's something that I always add, and this is one of my things. This is a teaspoon of dried onion flakes or dried minced onion, either or. And the reason I put that in, I wouldn't call this an optional ingredient at all. I always include this because even though we have fresh onion in this recipe, the dried onion adds a dimension that you can't get any other way. I love it. I always include it. I think it's part of what makes this recipe particularly good. All right, all those things are in here. A little salt, a little pepper, and that's just to your taste. You can add that a little bit more later if you want. And then I add back the bacon and or ham. Turn this down just to simmer just for a minute or two. I have the oven heating at 375 degrees. It's already at temperature. I'm transferring this to an oven-safe dish. If you're going to take this recipe anywhere, you'll need to double it. This is going into the oven now, and it will cook at 375 degrees for about 45 minutes until the moisture is reduced. So you leave it uncovered. You don't need this cover until after it's cooked. Cook this for about 45 minutes until it's reduced and thicker and getting browned and sticking to the edges of the dish around the edges. I'll put this into the oven now. And we'll take a look at this when it's finished. Here we go. Can you see that? It looks gorgeous, bubbling, browning around the edges, and it is done.